Hi, everybody. There's a lot on one feed. Awesome. Good to see everyone that is dropped in the chat. There are many people that I cannot see right now. So thank you for joining as well. Make sure you grab your pen and your paper. Put in the chat if you can hear me pretty clearly. And we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. There we go. Having some Wi-Fi challenges, so bear with me just a moment. But we're going to get started. Let's see if it saved that time. Yay, you got in. Yay. Yeah, it's the way that this conference is set up has been giving a little bit of a tidbit of issues getting in, but hopefully everybody will be able to get in and join. I am also working with the technical team right now to update the website so that we can get the sessions booked. I know there's been some that have expressed that they're full, and one of them is, but we are increasing that number right now. So we will be able to have that conversation tonight as well, to let everybody participate in what they need to do to grab everything that they need. So we are all set. So once again, like, share, comment, follow. This is the first installment of the Restore series, this 5-month series of healing, moving towards, working towards being a better you. All right. And I posted before I put the link in the chat. Perfect. You can hear me. Wonderful. I know we are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and a WhatsApp. So there's 5 different platforms we're going live on. So I'm just making sure that those that I know who could connect or connecting different ways can hear me and see me different ways. So that's perfect. We'll jump right on in about the next minute or so. And I want to be able to share this booking link in the chat with everybody so that everybody can have it, so that you can go ahead and start booking the next series, because those will not be on Facebook. Those are specifically through Zoom. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And while we are all getting situated on this first go round, make sure you get your pen, some water, your paper, all the good things that you need so that you can dive right in, learn, grow with all the good things that are going to be shared tonight, all the nuggets that are going to be dropped. This first session is going to be talking about what happened, understanding what happened without becoming what happened. So if I could title it, that's what it is. If somebody wants to put that in the chat, you're more than welcome to. But that is the first session tonight, understanding what happened without becoming what happened. And that's so important for us, because many times we allow life and life situations and circumstances to define our identity. And tonight we're going to break those chains, those tentacles, those links. We're going to break those barriers so that we can walk in all things that need to be done, walk in all things healing and wholeness, and all the goodness that needs to manifest in our life. So once again, the title is Understanding What Happened Without Becoming What Happened. I can't see the chat quite yet as my screens are updating, but hopefully someone has put that in the chat. If you haven't, by all means, please share, like, comment, all those good things, and we will put that in. And I am updating the bookings now. We've got about 20 bookings so far in this new one that I just updated. So thank you so much for supporting this new series. I'm going to give the link in the chat Here we go. Perfect. And we are ready. Thank you so much. This is the link for booking. All right, so this is the booking link, and I will pin it to the top. But there it is. That's the booking link so that you can go on and book the next sessions and all the good things that are to come. All right, so thank you. I think that was Crystal for putting that in the chat. I don't know why booking links didn't drop everywhere, but for some reason we're having a problem with Facebook. But we'll see how that goes. And it for us, everybody will get it. And we'll just keep going. Let's see. I know I am live over here. I think we just got kicked out. There we go. Live on Facebook. Beautiful. And I'm going to pin that to the top. All right, so let's get started. So session 1 introduces all of us to this journey from a non-clinical perspective. So I've gotten a lot of questions. No, this is not a clinical setting. This is an educational setting that's faith-sensitive. So it's a faith-sensitive educational setting that has a personal development perspective. Yay, it has a personal development perspective to help support and undergird who you are, where you're going, and what you want to do. And instead of asking the question, what happened to me, we need to start asking the question, what did I learn to do better? What did I learn to believe? What did I accept? What were the exceptions in what happened? Or what am I holding on to because of what happened to me? So it's all the questions that we can kind of think and navigate through and not allow what happened to become who you are. So it's moving from survival to living, as we've talked about, and as I've mentioned in the topic. So the distinction between the doorway to restoration is that by the end of this session, and then if you come for part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, they all have their own target focus, okay? So they're all different and they're all uniquely intertwined. This first one, though, is the foundation to the remaining sessions. So by the end of this session, you will be able to, 1, understand trauma as more than a single catastrophic event. It was bigger than that, okay? 2, you'll be able to recognize your survival responses. And that's important because we all have different survival responses. You'll be able to understand who you are even better when it comes to life happening around you, how you respond, what you say, what you don't say, without labeling yourself within the event. We're going to be able to understand our behaviors, the behaviors that we've developed as the form of protection. So a lot of us have that box that we put ourselves in, right? As we go through life and things start happening, we box ourselves in. And then now all of a sudden we've labeled ourselves. Okay, so we're going to talk about that tonight. We need to understand the difference between survival and living. Okay, we're going to go into full, living mode, coming out of survival. Let me take this banner back off on the backside. Coming out of that space of survival and moving into the space of living and doing and breathing without all the extra pieces that we carry into every other situation that we may go through. All right. Tonight, we're going to talk about recognizing that healing is not linear. It's not the same for everyone, right? We don't all heal the same. We don't all experience things the way. And so we're going to understand how we navigate, what that looks like for us. We're also going to begin talking about separating ourselves, our identity from our own experience. What does that look like for you? Making sure that you are living and allowing yourself to live and breathe and move even in the moment of life happening. And then we're going to identify areas that we need to feel safer in, because part of a lot of the things that we carry is then we don't go into spaces that we feel safe within ourselves, not necessarily in our environment, but having the conversation of feeling of understanding what that needs to look like in and of ourselves. So if there was a beginning question that I could ask, and because this is interactive, I actually am going to drop this question in the chat because it's important for the foundation of where we're going. So and I'm putting it in the wrong chat box here, so let me go to the comments. So the question I have for you is, when you hear the word trauma, because it's bigger than this, what do you think about? Okay, when you hear the word trauma, what do you think about? And because we automatically put trauma into one category, and we're not talking about just one category tonight, because what may be trauma for me may not be trauma for you, right? But even still, it's a life experience. And so, like I said earlier, we're not in a clinical space. This isn't therapy. This isn't psychology coming at you. No, this is you taking your spiritual mirror, calculating, thinking, and navigating what you need to do better for yourself, to heal, to live, and to move. Okay. So if you want to put this response in the chat, you're more than welcome to. The remaining sessions are more interactive. This first one is being offered on Facebook and the other 6 platforms that it's currently streaming on for particular reasons, so that people can get a glimpse of the foundation of it. But if you want to put it in the chat, more than welcome to. If you don't want to put it in the chat, that's fine too. Write it down though. I charge you to write these things down because it's going to help you be better at what you're doing. All right. So the question is already out there. When you hear that word, what do you think about? So when you hear that, a lot of times people think about abandonment. Some of us are going to think about rejection. Some of us are going to think about childhood experiences that we've lived through, right? Some of us are going to think about accidents. Some of us are going to consider divorce. Some of us are going to consider some type of act that happened to us. Maybe the passing of someone was a traumatic event for you. Maybe there was a level of abuse that may have been a traumatic event for you, whatever that looks like. And again, I keep stressing that this isn't going to be a psychological space where you're going to get therapy. Okay. This is an interpersonal perspective of thinking circumspect about what that looks like for you, so that you can navigate this journey of healing. All right. So what does that look like for you? Because now I want to broaden the conversation. I want to broaden what and think and how you think about it, right? And yes, I see that trauma, devastating event that moves me out of a safe emotional space. Yes. It's not only what happened though. Okay. Parenthetically park right there. Trauma is not only what happened, but what didn't happen. Has anybody ever calculated it from that lens? It's not only what happened, but what didn't happen that should have happened. See, that's many times more traumatic for us too, because we are thinking about, well, what should have happened that didn't happen, or what you needed but you never received. That broadens your perspective. What about what you repeatedly experienced? Again, a broader view of the discussion of healing. What you had to become to survive. What did you have to do internally or to present externally to survive whatever it is, whatever was going on? Or what were you never allowed to say? Or what were you never allowed to do? Okay. What did you learn to tolerate in those moments? What did that look like for you? What did you lose? Sometimes it's things that we've lost. Or what changed your sense of safety, your sense of trust, your sense of identity, or your sense of belonging? So it's not only what happened, sometimes it's about the things that didn't happen, should have happened, could have been said, weren't able to be said. All those things lend into this space of what we term as trauma. Okay. So keep that in the back of your head. two people can experience, and we know this, but two people can experience the same or a similar event and carry it completely different, right? We're not here to compare wounds. That's not this place. It's not this platform. We're here to understand the impact of piercing to you interpersonally. That's what we're here to do. And we froze, okay? We're here to see how that impacted you interpersonally. That's the discussion on the table. We want to find out what that did to you and for you. All right, so part one for tonight, and we're not going to be here long, okay? So part one tonight is, what does it mean to survive? And I'm going to put that in the chat. What does it mean to survive? This is the first step in the conversation. What does it mean to survive? Think about that, because survival is very powerful. We all do live, strive to survive, okay? Before asking, people or anyone, yourself, to change your survival behavior, you have to acknowledge those behaviors exist. You have to acknowledge that those behaviors may have been accomplished, that you've walked through it, that you've navigated through it, that process to this. And I know the Wi-Fi is giving lots of problems tonight, but that's okay. So there is a process to this journey. So before asking yourself, right, your survival behavior, you have to acknowledge that you have some. We all have some. They're all different for us all, but we all have some. What does that look like for you specifically? And I'm going to navigate. All right, so here we go. Some behaviors have helped people make it through situations they didn't know how to navigate any other way. Okay, we'll talk about those more in depth in the next upcoming series, in the next upcoming days. But the problem comes when the situation changes, but you're still in survival mode. So you've lived through it, you've navigated through it, you've plowed through it, but you're still in survival mode, and the situation has moved on. The situation has changed. It's no longer there. It's no longer present, but you're living and you're acting as though that is still your current reality. Okay, that's what it is. The situation has changed. The environment has changed, but you haven't changed. You're still living. You're still moving. You're still acting. You're still speaking. You're still navigating as if you're in the midst of whatever it is that was going on around you. And because of that, you're now making that thing, what happened, your identity. And now you've entered into survival mode. So you've now gotten into a space where you're making the situation who you are versus allowing the situation to be and to you to navigate through it. So the question then comes, what happens when the thing that protected you in one season begins to imprison you in another? Because see, in the midst of whatever that was that you were going through, that was your space of protection. You insulated yourself, you navigated it, you survived it, right? That's the survival. However, when the situation changed, when the environment changed, when things were now different, you're now imprisoned in the same box that kept you protected. So you're thinking that you're living, but really you're sucking yourself dry. You're living in a space that no longer exists. You created your own ghost war, your own fight, because now there is no situation that you've got to navigate through. There is nothing that you have to hold on to. It's all gone, but you're still living as if you're replaying it every day. You're going through it every day. And now it's imprisoned you inside of it, and it's no longer active. It's not even there anymore. So this is where this series now comes into play. This series of Restore is going to help us see what we've imprisoned ourselves in that we now need to break out of, because we're no longer going through those things. Okay, that's what this series does. So survival doesn't look like someone falling apart. We always often think that survival has a picture. Survival doesn't look like that. Sometimes survival looks like a person that becomes extremely independent. It looks like someone who throws themselves into work. They're working constantly. It looks like someone who can take care of everybody, right? So we all know someone who has that, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do this for this person. I've got to do this for this person and I've got to do this for this person. But you never hear them say they have to do something for themselves, right? Sometimes survival looks like never asking for help. Sometimes it looks like, being the dependable one. I've always got to be there for everybody else. If somebody needs something, I'm right there, the dependable one. Sometimes survival looks like staying busy, because sometimes we think the more we're busy, the less we're going to think about whatever it is that we've, imprisoned ourselves in, or that we're going through or trying to navigate. Sometimes survival looks like trying to control everything around you, right? You want to have control. You want to have your hands in. You want to know what's going on. You want to do everything. You want to see everything, because that's your space of comfort. Sometimes survival is keeping everyone happy around you while you're miserably crumbling on the inside. Everybody else is great, but you're broken into a million pieces. Sometimes survival looks like never allowing yourself to cry. I can't cry. Crying is a sign of weakness. If I cry, then I'm letting myself down. No, I've got to be strong. Strong looks like I can't cry. And I know a lot of times we hear that in our male counterparts, where that space of vulnerability. No, I can't cry because I've got to be strong. And so sometimes that's what survival looks like. Sometimes survival looks like leaving, a relationship that hasn't harmed you before the person you think is going to leave you. We're like, nope, because we're replaying it, we start making decisions based on what we've lived through, or based on our experiences, instead of based on where we're actually sitting in the moment. Sometimes, survival looks like becoming the strongest person in every room you step in. I've got to be that person that people can count on. I've got to be that person that people call on. I've got to be that person that's always there. I've got to be that person that always shows up. I've got to be that person that always does. And sometimes that's survival. So now that you've gotten some different pictures, think about where you are on that journey, and then take a moment to jot that down. What does that look like for you? Are you the one that is the perfectionist? It's got to be perfect. It's just got to be perfect. That's what survival looks like for you in certain spaces and places, right? But I want to challenge your thinking in that you can be high. What is the word I'm looking for? You can be high functioning and still be hurting. I'm going to say that one more time. You can be high functioning and still be hurting. And a lot of us have really good masks at doing exactly that. Functioning, performing, doing, moving, working, taking care of, and still completely broken and still completely hurting on the inside. You can be successful and still be striving. You can be serving and still be striving. You can be leaving and still be surviving. You can be smiling and still be surviving, right? There's a lot of things that we do to keep moving forward and still be in survival mode, not healing mode, survival mode. You're moving, you're doing because you're surviving. And you're doing it well. But on the inside, you're broken into a million pieces, right? You can even be helping everybody else heal around you. And see, this is the type of message that challenges people to really think about themselves, which is hard for many, because you've got to navigate why and how you do what you do so that you can become better. But you can be the one that heals everybody around you and avoid parts of yourself that need healing. You can point out everything that needs attention in somebody else. But when it comes to pointing out the things that need attention in yourself, now all of a sudden it becomes really hard. You're really good at making sure that everybody else in your circle gets what they need, counseling or encouragement or whatever it may be. But when that pendulum points right back to yourself, then it becomes really hard. You start avoiding the parts of yourself that still need attention. You can help bring attention to other people, but you don't want to bring attention to yourself. So that's what Restore is about. Restore is helping you be better for everybody else that you want to bring attention to, but so that you can be the best that you could be in doing whatever it is that you do. All right. So your reflection question is, where in my life am I functioning well, but not necessarily living well? Ask yourself that. Where am I high functioning? Where am I functioning well, but I'm not living well? What am I doing that I'm doing so well, but I don't enjoy it? What are those pieces of the puzzle that I'm still navigating, that I've imprisoned myself in because I'm avoiding dealing with those parts of myself that really need attention? Maybe you've made everybody else the scapegoat for everything that you've done. I don't know, right? This is a circumspect journey. Maybe, you're just tired of saying some of the cliches that we're going to talk about later in this topic for tonight. Maybe that's what it is, right? So let's see. Let's talk about point number 2 for us tonight. Your survival responses. Understanding what they could be. So we've already talked about what it could look like. We've already talked about what it looks like for some of us, right? And how it's not the same for everybody. And when you think of, life happening, what that looks like for you, it's going to look different for somebody else. We already know that. But let's talk about these patterns. Let's recognize some patterns in ourselves. Okay. These aren't diagnoses. These aren't labels. These are patterns. These are behaviors. Some of us, we know this, have that fight or flight mentality, right? We want to fight. Fight may look like being defensive. Fight may be like anger, right? That needing to control situations. It could look like feeling challenged. You don't want to be challenged. Arguing to feel heard. You want to have the last word and everything. You're always preparing for confrontation. I already know this is going to be a fight. Let me go ahead and get my words together. Let me go ahead and get what I need to say together, right? Maybe that's you. Maybe that's your pattern of survival. Did y'all catch that? A pattern of survival. Maybe that's yours. I don't know. So the question I have is, am I responding to what is happening now? Or am I fighting something that this moment reminds me of? Parenthetically park, right there. Am I fighting something that is happening right now? Or am I fighting something in this moment that is reminding me of something else? I'm going to reword it again. I guess that's the teacher in me. Am I responding to what is happening right now? Or am I fighting something that this moment triggers in my mind? Big question of the day. That's going to always tell you where you're not healed at. Right there. If you can start right there, you are on that journey of dealing with those soft spaces in your heart, in your life, that are trying to keep you imprisoned in this wall of survival instead of healing. Maybe fight looks like avoiding difficult conversations for you. Maybe that's what it looks like, that fight or flight. Maybe flight looks like staying busy. Now, if you notice, what we're doing is we're categorizing what we've already talked about. Okay, and I'll go back through it again. Maybe flight looks like overworking, staying extremely busy because we don't want to deal with whatever it is that we're dealing with. Maybe that flight mentality or behavior looks like you're keeping yourself distracted. I'm going to go over here and do this. And all of a sudden, as the wind and the tide change, you are tide changing too. You're kind of fly by the wind. Whatever's happening, that's what you're going to do. Maybe that flight mentality looks like you sit with uncomfortable emotions because you don't feel like you can speak your mind or speak your heart or share where you really are. So the flight reflective question is, what do I keep running from? Because slowing down would require me to feel it. I'm gonna put those in the chat. So I'm gonna put the fight question, which was, because I don't remember it right now. The fight question is, help me, Holy Spirit, because I don't remember. I know it has something to do with, yes, thank you, Lord. What am I responding to what is happening now? Or am I fighting something this moment reminds me of? Okay, and then your flight question. Your fight question is, what do I keep running from? Because slowing down would require me to feel it. That one I had to write down. Okay, I remember that. The other one I didn't remember. This one I remember. All right, so there's your flight, and there's your fight. Okay, those are your two questions as your basis. Because we all have that same survival instinct. Fight, flight, and then some of us just stand still. Let's talk about freezing. Freezing looks like you shut down. Freezing looks like you're unable to make decisions. Freezing looks like everything just, goes blank. You are emotionally numb. How many of you out there have said, I'm emotionally numb? I just don't feel it. I don't understand it. I don't know it. I'm just numb, right? Somebody's doorstep right there. Sometimes that space of freezing, you just completely go silent in the midst of the conflict. Sometimes that space of freezing is you just start procrastinating when you're overwhelmed. Like you have so much to do, but you just can't figure it out. And you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week, or I don't know. Sometimes freezing looks like you just feel stuck. How many of you have ever said, well, I know some of you have said because I see it, I feel stuck. I feel stuck. I just feel stuck. Something needs to change, but you just literally feel stuck. You have no idea what or how or what direction that needs to go in. You just literally feel stuck. Guess what? That's part of your freezing behavior in the midst of whatever's going down. So your freezing question to help you navigate on this journey is, what have I mistaken being stuck for a place of peace? Put that one in the chat for you as well. So all these good things are going to sit out here for this journey. Where have I mistaken? Okay, Lord. Being stuck. Thank you. For being at peace. Maybe that's how it came out. I don't remember, but you got the gist of it. So where have you mistaken being stuck? It is actually a place of peace. So again, things to navigate, things to contemplate. Okay, hold on to that. So it's fight, flight, or freeze. But guess what? There's two more. Did you realize that? There's really two more. One we're going to talk about tonight. The second one we'll talk about in session 2. But that next one is fawn. FAWN. Okay. So fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Okay. Fawn looks like people pleasing. See, this is the other side that you don't usually hear about. Fawn looks like people pleasing. Fawn looks like difficulty saying no. You want to say no. You have no means to take care of something. You have no emotional strength. You are tied behind tired. And I said it like that. And yet and still, you still have difficulty saying no. Maybe fawn looks like ignoring your own needs. Well, I'm going to make sure he has what he has, but I'm going to go without. for a particular reason. Maybe that's what it looks like for you. Maybe you're over apologizing. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize for something you didn't even do, wasn't even your fault. Over apologizing. Maybe you're trying to manage everyone else's emotions. You are the emotional regulator for everyone, and for yourself, you are completely distraught and destroyed and falling apart. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're accepting of behaviors towards you because you just feel like those are the behaviors that are supposed to be exhibited towards you, whatever that looks like. Maybe you feel responsible for keeping everybody happy. Maybe you feel responsible for everybody's behaviors towards you. That is the fawn response. And you need to ask yourself, how often have you abandoned yourself to keep somebody else comfortable? How often do you do that? I probably need to put that one in the chat too. Goodness. How often? How often have you? And I cannot spell because I keep seeing abandon, A-B-A-N. Abandon yourself. I'm going to just say myself to keep someone else happy. How often have you done that? Comfortable. How often has that happened? So there you got your 4 questions. Those are your 4 bases of restore, okay, to help you navigate what your responses are. Those are your 4 questions. And now I want you to pause there. I want you to pause and sit. Let's reflect, okay? Let's go back through these 4 real quick. Your fight is going to tell you one thing. Is that your tendency? What is it? Okay, am I getting ready to mount up? Am I ready to throw some hands? Am I responding to something that's happening now? Or am I fighting something this moment reminds me of? And that's a real space and place for some of us, right? We go into situations and circumstances and we start to see or think that the situation or circumstance looks like something from the past, something that we've navigated through, something that we've gone through. And so because we didn't respond right then, we put that response in this situation now, and it's the wrong response because this situation is not the same. And so you've got to start thinking about it. Am I responding to what I'm seeing now? Am I responding to what's happening to me now? Or am I responding to what I think is about to happen? Am I responding to what I feel is about to happen? Am I responding to the memory of something that happened to me in the past? Contemplate that. Think about that. That's going to help us. It's going to help you, right? Then we have that flight mentality. What do I keep running from? Okay, what are you running from? Because slowing down is going to make you feel it. Slowing down is going to make you think about it. Slowing down is going to cause your brain to actually have time to think about what's going on around you. And we can pack our day and be so busy doing things to keep ourselves from becoming idle that we're now not dealing with the thing that has put us in this position. We just want to stay busy. We just want to keep going. We just want to keep on this journey of whatever, because we don't want to think about it. We don't want to contemplate it. We don't want to navigate it, because if I do that, I'm going to have to feel it. And if I feel it, I'm going to have to deal with it. And it's painful and I don't want to do that. Maybe some of us just freeze, right? We mistake this space of being stuck as a place of being peaceful. Could be, right? Or are you sitting there because you didn't say what needed to be said? Is it a space of that you don't have a voice? You don't feel like your voice, you're just emotionally numb, or you just completely shut down. What does that look like for you? And then throwing in the mix this new one, this space of fawn. How often have you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable? How often? That is a real place. That is a real space. Some of us navigate that all the time. We do it, and we do it so naturally that it's become who we are. It's a place of our own identity while we are yet still suffering and broken on the inside. But when survival becomes your identity, when what has happened to you becomes who you are, we're now in a really tricky, precarious place. Okay? Because that's when you start labeling yourself. So I'm going to say that again. When what has happened to you becomes who you are, you've now labeled yourself in the pain of whatever you've gone through. And that's not who you are. That's what Restore is going to help you navigate. You've now labeled yourself as rejected. No. You've labeled yourself as unwanted. You've labeled yourself as unloved. You've labeled yourself as not being enough. You've labeled yourself as being unsuccessful, right? You've labeled yourself as being unworthy, or maybe too weak, or damaged, or difficult, or unwanted, whatever the label was, because of whatever happened to you, you're now making that who you are. And so now this series is going to challenge you to separate your experience from your identity. I'm going to say that again. This series is going to challenge you to separate your experience from your identity. One more time. You've got to separate your experience from your identity. Here's a question that you can fill in the blank if you would like. If not, write it down. Because of what happened, I started believing blank. Ooh, good. Because of what happened, I started believing blank. Because of what happened, I started doing blank. That behavior protected me because. That behavior protected me by. Today, that behavior is costing me X. Okay? All those questions. Because of what happened, I started believing what? Fill in that blank for yourself. You don't have to share it. This is a personal, introspective space. Because of whatever that was, because of what happened, I started believing blank. Because I believed that, I started doing what? See how this is a progressive? I'm going to back it up again. Because of what happened, I started believing blank. Y'all got that? And because I believed that, I started doing fill in the next blank. And then that behavior, whatever it is that you started doing, that behavior protected me by what? And today that behavior is costing me X. All of that now working together. This is awareness. This right here, this is about awareness. This is for people who really want to go to that next level. For individuals who really want to walk in healing. For individuals who are really ready to deal and go higher and whatever it is that you're called to do. This right here. You cannot intentionally change a pattern that you've never identified. You can't. You cannot intentionally change a pattern that you have never identified. Somebody want to put that in the chat? That'd be great. But you on the other side of the screen, all these viewers, you cannot change a pattern you have never identified. I don't care what people tell you. I don't care what people say. People could coach you up, down, left, right. People could tell you the truth, left, right, all the way around. But until you personally and intentionally identify it, you will not change. You have to intentionally change that pattern. And you can't intentionally change that pattern until you identify it. That's what Restore is about. All right. Last question for the day. Okay. How do you know you're living instead of merely surviving? How do you know? Thank you for putting that in the chat for me. How do you know? That's the question. That's the question for tonight. How do you know? How do you know when you're living instead of surviving? Do you really know that? Do you have a basis of that? Do you know what that looks like? Surviving sounds like I just have to make it through today. Right? That's what survival sounds like. I just have to make it through today. Survival sounds like I can't depend on anybody else but myself. I can't depend on anybody. How many of us have said that? I can't depend on anybody. That's what it looks like. Survival says, I don't need anybody. Survival constantly says, when someone asks, how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. I'm okay. Survival looks like and says, whatever happens, happens. Right? I know you've heard that cliche. Whatever happens, happens. Yes, that's good. That's a good answer to that question. How do you know when you're living instead of merely surviving? There's no joy or enjoyment in what you are doing day to day. I'm going to put that up. Yep. And then you start making all these cliche statements. I don't have time to deal with that. That's just how I am. That's just how I respond. Okay. But when you're living sounds like I can ask for help. I can acknowledge how I feel. It may not feel great, but at least I can acknowledge it. I can trust carefully without abandoning my discernment. I don't have to give you my full trust. I can trust you just like an onion peel. I can allow trust to develop because trust is supposed to develop, right? I can rest. I can say no. I can make choices based on what's good for me instead of the fear of what's going to happen if I say no to you. See, that's what living begins to look like. You taking control of what's good for you and making choices for you and not allowing the things that are around you to dictate your environment of who you are in your internal self, and to then close yourself off into this imprisonment of this box that you're now boxed into because you can't navigate your own behaviors of how you feel because you've never intentionally thought about it. That's where we are. That's what we want to talk about. That's what we want to move through. And it's going to take us a minute. It's not something that we can sit down and deal with all in one night. We're going to talk about it. We're going to navigate it. This is a 5-month journey over helping each one of us get to that space and place that we can be better for ourselves. And for that, sessions 2 through 5 are not broadcast online because they're more interpersonal. And they're more interpersonal so that we can go deeper in understanding who we are and what we're doing. Okay. So healing, let's talk about healing. Healing isn't check mark. Healing isn't, I did that. Healing isn't, oh yeah, I took care of that. Healing isn't this. No. Healing is you've established some boundaries and then you find out there's another wound, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I got this. I can do this. And then you take that new journey of discovery, of making yourself better, understanding and processing and going through all these steps that we're going to learn. And then walking through it, because see, healing isn't just tell me what happened. That's not healing. That's not healing. Healing is tell me how what happened is affecting you now. That's healing. That's the question. And when you can answer that, then you're on the path of healing. How is it affecting you now? What are those behaviors presenting? What behaviors need to change so that you can then grow and be better and not boxed in to what happened to you? It goes right back to that initial question. Are you responding to something that's happening to you now? Are you responding to a connection that you've made in the past that you think is about to replay in front of you? Okay. Eventually, healing is going to ask you, who are you? What do you need? What is it that you need to navigate? And guess what? We're going to get through all of that by session 5. But right now, in the foundational of where we are, we've got some questions to answer. We've got some things to navigate. We've got to understand where we are in this space of ourself, okay? This moment of truth, the reckoning of who we are. What did you do to survive? What did you do? What did you have to do to survive? Who did you have to become to survive? And do you still need to be that person today? Probably not. In the moment, today, not so much. So again, the healing starts this journey. What did you have to do? Who did you have to become to survive? And do you still need to be that person today? Do you still need to do all of whatever it is that you did in that moment to survive right now? Are you living in the moment of the past as if it's happening to you in this moment right now? or have you just put it in its own little box, gift wrapped it up and said, you know, I'm gonna put it on the shelf, I don't want to deal with that, and it's still sitting there, but you don't realize you're living life, you're making decisions, you're navigating everything you do through the prism of that box that you think is sitting there on the shelf, but it's really not. It's right here in front of you, shaping every decision that you make in life. No, it's time out for us living through those types of things. We want to be able to go through it to healing, not go through it and sit there. That's what we've got to navigate out of. That's what we've got to navigate through, right? One of the nuggets that I shared, if you follow, great, was going through the chaos to get to the victory. Well, whatever that chaotic space and place is that caused us to sit in this imprisonment, this false imprisonment now that we boxed ourselves in, yeah, that's what we're about to break up so that we can go through it, so that we can really be healed, so that we can live happy, so that we can have enjoyment. Not saying that life is perfect and everything's going to be great every day. No, it's not what I said. What I said was healing through the moments and understanding how you respond so that you don't make the moment who you are. You don't become the situation. You navigate the situation to become what it needs to be. Okay, so again, that's Restore. I'm going to close out for tonight because it's getting close to 7:30. I've already put in the chat a couple of the things that are coming up for the next session. You can join the next sessions. You have to click on the link though. I pinned it to the top. I will share it again. But in order to get to the next sessions, you have to sign up for those. Those are not going to be broadcast online because I want to keep the environment as pure as possible, so that we can share the data that needs to be shared, data, participant information, different things of that nature for privacy notices, and just make it more authentic. So again, it's on the screen, it's in the chat. I'll make sure to share it again. It's on my page, my Dr. MVP page. Go like, go follow, go share. That's how you got here anyway, many of you. Go keep up, go register so that you can take this journey of healing. And I already know it's not for everybody, but it's only for the ones that are ready to go forward. All right. So yay, first session down. 4 more to go. Right. 4 more to go. All right, let me get this off the screen for you, but I'm gonna leave it up for a couple more minutes. And then we're gonna be out. A couple more seconds. Write it down, click on it. It's in the top somewhere. Hold on. Hope you've enjoyed this session. There's a lot of people on from a lot of different places that I cannot see, but thank you for coming. Gonna try to copy it in the, there we go. Put it in there one more time. One more time, it's in there. Just shared it again. Okay.